Good afternoon. So we are working on lesson 3.6 today, a taxing situation. And if you've ever actually looked at your pay stub, you will see that what you were to be paid per hour doesn't always work out to be the amount that actually you got in your check, right? Because there's things that are called withholdings, money that they withheld for. There's the state taxes, there's the federal taxes. We're going to work on both of those today. There's also FICA. And then there's also Medicare and Medicaid. Are those my three? My four? I think so. And so we're going to look at how to calculate those, even though they're not all the ones that are individual are not in this lesson here. I don't know why they didn't at least include the Social Security and the Medicare and Medicaid, because everybody pays that in every state. Okay. But when you go to take a new job, they ask you to fill out a form, a W-2 form, and right, or is it your I-9? I can't remember which one is when you start a job and which one's when you. Anybody want to help me out? It's your I-9. So it's your I-9 form. So that's where you tell them how many deductions. So if you have children, then you're going to pay less taxes than somebody that doesn't have children. And if you're married, you're going to pay less taxes. And if there's somebody that's just single by themselves, no children. And then you're going to see how that withholding is taking place, like what is coming out. So if we turn to the page 346 in our book, this is the following tax bracket for 2018. So if you went into the updated project, I added 2022 and 2023. I'll pull it up on my screen later because it's just kind of interesting to see how it's changing. But we're going to be working at a few problems in the single column, married filing jointly, and widower, and then married filing separately, and then head of household. Okay, so we're going to look, it says for each filing status, the range of incomes filed in that column determines which tax bracket an individual falls into. For example, notice that in the second row of the married filing separately, right here, it says the range is 9,526 to 38,700. And that row has a 12% in the tax rate column. Okay. So this tells us that a married taxpayer filing separately with taxable income between 9,526 and 38,700 is in the 12% tax bracket. And we're going to talk about how that's affecting. So it says if a person filing as single has taxable income of 42,000, what tax bracket is she in? And what about our married couple filing jointly? Anybody want to unmute or type it in the chat?
She's in the 22% tax bracket.
Okay, as a single. So as a single, she's in the 22% tax bracket. Thanks, Tammy. And what about the married couple? If they were making 42,000, where would they fall?
In the 12%.
In the 12%. So you might be thinking, well, wait, they're not having to pay as much tax, but let's just say it's only two people. That means that they're supporting two people in a household, right, on the same income as the single person was supporting with one income. So we don't know what they're doing with their money. All we know that's kind of on our honor, that's how it is. So this is a 12%. Okay. So now for the big question, how much would that single person pay in taxes? If you said 22% of 42,000, that's a fine guess, but an incorrect one. So what this means, it says, in short, all taxpayers who are single pay 10% on the first 9,525. And then they pay 12% of anything that falls in here. And then they pay 22% of wherever the difference is from where they fall, their 42,000 and the top of the previous bracket. Just a little bit, right? They fell in there at the 42,000. So if I say I'm at the 12% tax bracket, it doesn't mean that all of my income I'm paying 12% on. It means that I'm paying 10% on this first chunk. Then I'm going to subtract of whatever I fell into this 12% category, and I'll pay 12% of that difference. So we're going to walk through this. Okay. So let's flip the page. They do a really nice layout on page 347. It says, using the information just provided, calculate the amount of tax that our single person would pay on income of $42,000. So notice we're going to calculate how much in the 10% category, how much in the 12%, and then down here is how much in the 22. And we're going to kind of set it up the same every time. So it says 10% of 9,525 is 0.10 times that whole chunk, means that she's going to pay $952.50 in taxes in the money that falls in that category. And then I'm going to underline, this is how much of her income is in that category, 9,525. Then, because we fell into the third category, it means that she's going to pay 12% of all the money that falls into the second category. And she can find out how much that is by taking the top of the second category, 38,700. The top of that category, and subtracting the top of the previous, not the top to bottom, but the top to top. And so 38,700 minus the 9,525 means that we're paying 0.12 times the 29,175. So this is how much of her income falls in that category. And this is the amount of taxes she's going to pay on that amount of income. Now, next we're in the 22% category. So we just kind of bumped into that category, right? The top is, or the bottom is 38,700, and we just slightly bumped into there. So we're going to take 42,000 and subtract the top of the previous category, 38,700, and we're going to find the difference. So the last little 3,300 of her income is going to be taxed at 22%. So 0.22 times that. So the amount of taxes she pays in that 22% is only 726. So if she says, oh, I'm in the 22% tax bracket, and people go, what? You're paying 22% taxes? Not on all of her income. So what we did here is we added up the taxes, the amount of the taxes down here, 952.50, 3,500, 726, for a total of 5,179 taxes. And then if we add up the underlying values, which I'd like you to do, and let me know what you come up with for that.
Learn more at revivehealth.com and try to revive pain relieving cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use this directive.
This holiday season,
Her income.
Excellent. So that's her income. So that helps us keep track of how much of her income is in each of the categories. So we've got some organization. Any questions so far? Okay. So now it says, how much would the taxpayer in solved example 2, or in the solved example, have overpaid if she had misunderstood what the 22% tax bracket means and simply paid 22% of her income? She would have paid 22% times the entire 42,000. It takes me a minute to switch screens, so if somebody had that amount. On the big one, Desmos, I will do it, but
4,060, 50, I think, 51.
4,060, I think my key is 4,080.
4,060.50 is what I have her overpaying.
Oh, overpaying. Yeah. So the new amount would be 4,060, right? Or no, 9,240.
9,240 is the amount she overpaid.
That's the amount that she paid, right?
Right.
If she were doing it, yeah. And so then the overpay we're gonna take that 9,240 and subtract what she really paid, 5,179 and 50 cents. And she would have overpaid by 4,060 and 80 cents.
I have 50 cents.
You know what?
I don't know why.
I was just looking. I don't know what's. Oh, no, sorry, I gotta bring up something. Where's business? Okay, there we go. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so we're gonna do 9,240 and subtract the 5,179 and 50 cents. And yeah, good job. I don't know why I think I wrote it. That's what I get. Thank you. It is 4,060 and 50 cents. Thank you, Tammy, so much. Catch each other. Okay. So, so that's what she would have overpaid. That's a lot. And they would have caught it, right? And then they would have sent her a refund, but. Okay. So when I was growing up, I used to do my own taxes when I was really young. I don't know about you, Tammy or Danielle, but, and my mom, she would do her own too, because things were a little simpler then. And I don't know that she was able to itemize. I don't even know when that started. Like, if you own a home, you can write off interest on your home. As long as the things that you can write off, like donations to churches and other things, as long as they're a certain amount, you can write them off. Otherwise, they give you the standard deduction. But I always use this table. So my mom said, okay, figure out how much you made. It was very simple. I worked at one place and then figure out how much you paid taxes at the end. They send you this form. And then it was like, okay, you filled out like 3 things in this form. And then it was like, okay, go to the table. So I just went to the table. So if we look at here, it says, Mr. and Mrs. Brown are filing a joint return. So they're in this category here, married filing jointly. Their taxable income on Form 1040, line 10 is 25,300. First, they find the category that their amount falls into, which is right here. So we see that the third one. So if you go over to the column that they're in, their tax should be 2,658. If we use that little table. Is everybody with me so far? But it says use the bracket from earlier. So we're going to use this bracket here on page 346 to find out in the filing jointly what they would have paid if their income was 25,300. Right? So their income is 25,300. Okay. So if their income is 25,300, which percent bracket are they in?
12.
In the 12. So they're married filing jointly, and we have to crisscross with the 12% because they're right in here. It's a 12%. I'm just going to jot that down off to the side. So that means they are going to pay 10% of the first 9,525. No, sorry, I looked at the wrong one. Then first 19,050. 19,050. I'm moving left and right here. So the first 19,050. So that's going to be 0.10 multiplied by 19,050. And when we put that in, we should get 1,905. And again, this is my tax. And then this is my income amount in that group. Everybody with me on that? My other two, if you want to send a little emoji to let me know you're okay.
With you.
And if you're new to emojis, there should be a menu in here in Zoom. Mine's in the more, and then if you go to reactions, you could say, celebrate, I got it. And it's gonna pop up. Danielle's good. Allison, are you okay? Okay, so that means that means the next bit of their income, the rest of it falls in the second category, right? So it's going to be 12% of their income, 25,300 minus the top of the previous category, which is 19,050. So that's 0.12 times
6,250.
thank you, 6,250.
Yes.
Thank you. So that's the other part of her income. Thank you. And that comes out to be 750, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. $750. Okay. So the total tax.
2,655.
$2,655. So thank goodness she didn't have to pay 12% on all, or they didn't have to pay 12% on all of their income. Okay. So it says, what would happen to you if you failed to pay your taxes? Discuss, and if you're able, maybe do a little bit of internet research. I don't know. I know that if you're not sure what they're going to be, or you're struggling to pay them, I know that you can file a deferment, right? It's called, so that you can pay them later. Because sometimes things happen where somebody will leave a job and they'll get paid an extra chunk of money, and so then they owe a bunch of taxes because the company didn't take that out. There are some weird things that can cause that situation. Okay. If anybody's wondering where in the heck our tax money goes, page 349 shows us, it says, while paying taxes really hurts, it can help at least some to know exactly what those dollars are accomplishing. There are a handful of websites that illustrate where federal tax dollars go. And for people who stink at percents, which of course does not include you, on some sites you can just enter a taxable income and it will tell you exactly how your taxes were being spent. So this is the chart from 2017. So it says 29.81% of your tax dollars go to healthcare. That was back in 2017. And 23.8% goes to military. And if anybody wants to try to research it, we can share it. We did some looking in class, and I have been successful before, but we weren't the other day. Finding out what it is currently. I do know that it does change a little bit because in 2017, Trump was in office. And so usually when Republicans are in office, if he had time to change it. So I don't think he could change it until 2017. So this probably doesn't reflect his because he was elected in 2016. But usually Republicans or conservatives want to put more money towards the military and keeping us safe, and less money to like food stamps and healthcare, because healthcare is for like Medicare, Medicaid, and then there's food, and then in the healthcare, I think that might be the food stamps and such like that too. So if we flip the page here, it says, if you paid, to number 5 here, it says, if you paid $6,500 in federal taxes in 2017, how much of your money went to education?
Do you just take that times the percent that 3.99 from the other page?
Mm-hmm. So it was 3.99.
Yes.
Yeah, so 0.0399 times the amount of tax. And that amount would have gone to education. I believe that was $259.35. Anybody validate that for me?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. It says for every $100,000 in income tax revenue collected by the IRS in 2017, how much went just to pay interest on the national debt?
$14,200.
14,200. Yeah, what percent was that?
14.20.
So 0.142 times that 100,000 was 14,200. And that was just to pay interest on the national debt. So it's a lot. Okay. So that is all we do, because in here there's like weird things about the forms that aren't as relevant to us. And now I think they tried to make it a little bit more user friendly about how much you, like if you were getting a new job and you wanted to find out your I-9, like how you would fill it out. It's supposed to be a little bit easier than it was based on your income for your withholding. But what I would like to do is go to here. So it's actually project part 4. Remember, I had them switched around. So if you go there, that's the one I'm having you use, that April of 2021. That's when it's due. It's the 2020 tax bracket. But here is a 2022. And then down here is a 2023. So I thought it would be interesting for us to work on finding what that gal would pay on her 42,000 if we use the 2022, because that will give you some practice. And also with the other, so if anybody wants a minute, I'll give you a minute here to like get out your project or open it up or whatnot.
I'm sorry, we're doing what with our project?
What, hon?
What are we supposed to be doing with our project?
So if you want to get out the paper project that I gave you,
Uh-huh.
or a screen or a scrappy piece of paper.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go back to my office to grab some more scrap paper so that we can go through this again. So we're gonna use the 42,000 from the class and we're gonna go through this 2022. So you can start on that if you want. Okay. So if we want to do this example here, we're going to use the 42,000 that was in the course pack. And we can see that she falls in barely, right, as a single person into the 22%. So do you see that? Barely. So she has a chunk in her 10%, a chunk in her 12%, and then just an itty bitty bit in the 22%. Okay. So she's going to be 10% of the 10,275. I'm going to just walk through setting it up, and then I'm going to just show you my paper so we can make sure we all have the same thing written down. And then she's going to pay 12% of the difference between the 41,775 and the top of the previous one, which is the 10,275. And then she's going to pay 22% on the itty bitty that fell into that third category. So 22% of 42,000 minus the top of the previous category, which is 41,775. This is what I have so far. Oh, whoopsie. Anything so far? When everybody gives me the thumbs up, I will figure out those values. Okay, Danielle's good. Allison, are you okay? Okay, Allison's good. I think Tammy's okay. She left. Okay, so I'm gonna go and do a new share, and we're gonna figure out. Geez, there it is. Okay. So we're gonna pay 0.10 times 10,275. So the first amount of tax is 1,027.5. And then it's 0.12 times the difference of what we wrote, 41,775 minus 10,275. And that's 3,780. And then she's going to pay 22, so 0.22, oops, 0.22 times her 42,000 minus the top of the previous 41,775 to find the itty bitty part. So the bit that fell in there, she's going to pay $49.50 on that. And if somebody could double check me, that would be great. Because we don't have. Oh, no. I don't know why. Anybody have any questions on that? Or can anybody confirm that they got what I did? Oops. Everybody get the same amounts? Those are my two, my three amounts. And somebody can give me a heads up, like a thumb. Okay, Danielle, agreed. Okay. And then we're gonna add those. Okay, that would be 1,027.50 plus 87.80 plus $49.50. Whoa. Okay, yeah. I went to the wrong thing. So it looks like 4,857 in 2022. So how does that compare? Is that more or less than the 2017? It looks like less, right? Because in 2017 it was yeah, it was a single person, 5,179.50. Any questions on that? Okay, so if we go back to the project, okay, if we go back to the project, let's go over the other pieces that you need to do, and we can do them for this girl that's in the book. So it says, assuming that you are in Michigan, we're going to assume that she is. There's three other things that she has to pay taxes on. Her Michigan state income tax, which is 4.25% of her gross annual salary. So that's after any deductions or whatever. And we're not getting into that in this class. And then the Social Security tax is 6.2% of her gross annual salary, under 117,000. So she makes more than 117,000 in her gross annual salary. She only pays this maximum amount. And then the Medicare tax is 1.45% of gross annual salary. So let's find out how much she's making on her Michigan, not Michigan State, but state of Michigan, right? So it would be, and we're assuming that the 42,000 is like what she's being taxed on. So it would be 0.0425 times the 42,000. This is what it would be. It would look for the state of Michigan income. And then this is the unemployment, is that right? And then this is the Medicare, Medicaid, I think, the FICA, they call that. And this is all of the 42,000. Okay, so let's. Use here. 1, 2, Okay. I didn't- Okay, so we've got 0.0425 times 42,000. And then 0.062 times 42,000. And then 0.0145 times 42,000. So 1,785, the state of Michigan, 2,604 for unemployment, and then 609 for FICA. That's the Medicare. Okay. So let's figure out how much that would be. 1785 plus 2604 plus 609, 4,998. So then the project is asking you for says after all taxes are taken out of your gross annual salary, you are left with your net annual salary, the amount of money you have left after paying all of your taxes. Based on the information above, calculate your net annual salary. So how would she find her net annual salary? Let somebody tell me.
Would just take the 42,000 and then subtract the 49.98.
Okay. And then is that all we have to subtract? Because we want a net annual salary.
Oh, no, we have to subtract the 48.57 too, right?
Yep. This is the federal taxes. And this is the other. It's a lot. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so 42,000, subtracting the other taxes and subtracting the 4857, the federal taxes. It means our take home is 32,145. And then number 5 says, if you are paid bi-weekly every other week, how much money will you receive in each paycheck? In other words, what is your expected net bi-weekly salary for this job? So bi-weekly, if it's every other week, then it's 26 paychecks. Some people, I don't know if anybody on here, but some people get paid twice a month. And I don't know if you are on government assistance, it might just be once a month. I can't remember. So you have to divide accordingly, but I would like you to tell me what your expected net bi-weekly salary for this job would be. So that means we're going to take 32,145 and divide by 26 because she gets paid every other week. So 32,145 divided by 26 means that twice a month she gets paid 1,236.35 with every other week. So 1,236.35 every other week. And so, oh, I think that might be, is that the last question?
Just ask you if that was a lot of money for
Mhm.
what you thought you were gonna make.
Yeah. So also thinking about the house that you said you were gonna buy, right? Um, This is where it gets fun for what people chose for their house, just because it's like, I know a lot of you are like, hey, I'm going all in. Like, I found this really cool house in LA. Awesome. But it is a good kind of a wake up call to go, oh my gosh, my daughter. This is a funny thing. She was asking, she's like, the one child was saying, hey, so if I have extra money, I'm already paid ahead of my student loan. Should I just pay more ahead? But I don't actually have anything due until February. And I'm like, oh, you're getting interest today. So anything that you can pay extra, I would pay today. And the other child is like, what? I thought we got like a whole year free before we had to pay anything. And I'm like, well, you have 6 months from when you graduated, but you're still accruing interest, sister. And then she's like, I hate it here. And I'm like, where? The US? And she says, the world. She's got like the world emoji. I'm like, it's how it works. Like, it was just funny because there's been so much confusion for people that just graduated about like what is accruing, what's not, when do we have to pay, is Biden paying anything, all these other things. It was just, I don't know, overshared on that one, but it was a funny situation. Does anybody have any questions? So we literally just walked through basically how to do your entire project. You're very welcome.